A $350 motherboard and a $100 motherboard gives you the exact same FPS in games. Same CPU, same GPU, same frames. So why do expensive motherboards even exist? In this video I'm going to explain exactly what a motherboard does, what actually matters when you're choosing one, and why most people are spending way more money than they need to on motherboards. By the end, you'll know exactly which board to buy for your build and your budget. Here's the thing that most people get wrong. Your motherboard does not affect gaming performance. It's not like a GPU where spending more gets you more. It connects everything together and determines what part you can use. Think of it like the foundation of a house. A fancier foundation doesn't make the rooms bigger, but a bad foundation limits what you can build on top of it. So the goal is simple. Pick a board that supports everything that you need, doesn't bottleneck anything, and doesn't waste money on features you won't use. Step 1. Socket. This is the single most important decision. Your CPU plugs into a specific socket on the motherboard, and if they don't match, nothing works. Right now, in 2026, you've got two platforms. AMD uses AM5, which supports Ryzen 7000 and 9000 series. Intel's current socket is LGA 1851 for Arrow Lake and Core Ultra 200 series. And the older LGA 700 covers 12th through 14th gen. One thing to check before you buy. Even within the same socket, an older board might need a BIOS update before it recognizes a newer CPU. An AM5 board that shipped in 2022 might not boot with a Ryzen 9000 at all. The BIOS predates that CPU. The fix is a BIOS flashback, a button on the rear I/O panel that lets you flash the firmware from a USB stick with no CPU installed. Without it, you'd need to borrow a compatible older CPU to do the update. Not a problem on a fresh build, but worth knowing if you're buying on a sale or upgrading into an existing socket later. I'll flag which boards have it in the features section. Here's why this matters beyond just compatibility. AMD has committed to supporting AM5 through at least 2027, meaning you can drop in a newer CPU later without replacing your board. Intel historically changes sockets more often, so if upgradability matters to you, that's worth considering. If you already picked your CPU, and you should pick it before the motherboard, the socket is already decided. If you haven't, check out my CPU guide, link is in the description. Once you know your socket, the next decision is chipset. The chipset controls what features the motherboard has, how many USB ports, how many M.2 storage slots, whether you can overclock, and how many PCIe lanes you get. For AMD, the A620 is the absolute budget option. No overclocking, fewer features, but it works fine for Ryzen 5 build. B650 is the sweet spot. You get overclocking, Gen 5 GPU support, and enough features for any mainstream build. X650 is only worth it if you need maximum PCIe lanes or lots of high-speed storage. For Intel, the B760 is the go-to for most builds. You can't overclock, but if you're running a locked i5 or i7, you don't need to. The Z790 and Z890 unlock overclocking and more connectivity. Same story, only worth the premium if you're running an unlocked K-series CPU. For most people watching this video, the B650 for AMD or B760 for Intel, that is the answer for like 80% of the builds. Next up, size. Motherboards come in three main sizes. ATX is the standard full-size board. It's the most common, has the most expansion slots, and fits in mid-tower and full-tower cases. This is what most people should get. Micro ATX is smaller and usually $20 to $30 cheaper. You lose a couple expansion slots, but for a standard gaming build, one GPU, one M.2 drive, you're not using those extra slots anyway. If you want to save a bit without losing anything that matters, the mATX is the value play. Mini ITX is for small build form factors. It's the most expensive per feature because everything has to be crammed onto a tiny board. Only go ITX if you specifically want a compact build. My recommendation, ATX if you want maximum flexibility, mATX if you want to save money, and ITX only if you're building small on purpose. One thing more to consider when choosing form factors. RAM slots. ATX always has 4 slots. You can start with 2 sticks and add 2 more later. Most mATX boards also have 4 slots, but some budget mATX boards only have 2, so check before buying. Mini ITX always has 2 slots, which means you either buy all of your RAM up front or you're swapping sticks, not just adding when you upgrade. If you plan to start at 16 GB and upgrade to 32 GB later, make sure your board has 4 slots. You'll hear a lot of talks about VRMs, voltage regulator modules. These are the components that deliver clean, stable power to your CPU. And yes, they matter, but probably not as much as the internet makes you think. On a cheap board with a low GDP CPU like a Ryzen 5 7600 or an i5 14400F, VRM quality is a non-issue. The power draw is low enough that even budget VRMs handle it just fine. Where it starts to matter is with high GDP chips. If you're running a Ryzen 9 9950X or an i9 14900K, CPUs that can pull 150 to 250 watts at boost, a cheap board's VRMs can overheat, throttle, and actually hold your CPU back. If your CPU has a GDP on a 105 watts, almost any B650 or B760 board is fine. If you're running a high GDP chip, check reviews for VRM thermal testing before you buy. Motherboard boxes love to list features. Let me sort the ones that actually matter from the ones that are just marketing. Here's something first-time builders often don't realize. Every port on the back of your PC, all those USB-A sockets, the USB-C, the audio jacks, the Ethernet port, comes from the motherboard. The case just has a cutout. A budget board might also give you 4 USB-A and nothing else. A better board gives you 6 or 8, rear USB-C and cleaner audio. Same goes for your front panel. If your case has a USB-C port on the front, your motherboard needs the matching internal header or it simply won't work. Always check the I/O panel specs before you buy. The other one people miss is M.2 slots. If you plan to add a second NVMe drive later, make sure your board has at least 2 slots. And if you don't want to run an Ethernet cable, get a board with a Wi-Fi built in. It's way better than any USB dongle. Alright, let's make this simple. Here's exactly what I'd buy at every budget for both AMD and Intel. AMD budget, under $150. The MSI Pro B650p Wi-Fi. Full HEX board with Wi-Fi, 2 M.2 slots and solid VRMs for any Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 7. This is the go-to. Mid-range, $150 to $180. The Gigabyte B650 Aerios Elite AX Wi-Fi. It has 4 M.2 slots, Wi-Fi 6E, solid VRMs and excellent build quality for the price. The board I'd pair with a Ryzen 7 9700X or even a Ryzen 9 if you're not doing any extreme overclocking. High-end, $200 plus. The Asus ROG Strix B650EE gaming Wi-Fi, full Gen 5 support, premium VRMs, Wi-Fi 6E, excellent audio. Only worth it if you're running a Ryzen 9 and want every feature. Intel budget, $110 to $140. The Asus Prime B760M-A Wi-Fi. It's a solid mATX board with Wi-Fi, rear USB-C, 3 M.2 slots and good front panel header support. It's great for any locked i5 or i7 chip. Intel mid-range, $180 plus. The Gigabyte C790 Aerios Elite AX unlocks overclocking for the K-series chips. It has premium VRMs, Wi-Fi 6E and 4 M.2 slots. One of the best value C790 boards available. Links to all of these are in the description with live Amazon pricing. And if you don't want to pick every part individually, the PC builder at MaxMyBuild.com handles all of this for you. Just enter your budget and it picks a motherboard that matches your CPU, your RAM, your case, everything. Link is the first thing in the description.